Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. Today, we're going to talk about how the strike was finally ended, and now the C8 is back in production. All right, guys, so everybody's been waiting for the C8 Corvette, and of course, with the strike going on, we all knew everything was getting pushed out. At this point, we're about 2 months behind schedule on the C8 Corvette, and now we just got word today that the UAW has finally come to agreement with GM and the strike is over. So they are back in working as of tomorrow for some. The United Auto Workers gave final approval just today for a 4-year labor contract with General Motors. This, of course, brings an end to the union's 40-day strike, which cost GM well over $2 billion. Some of the union's 48,000 members with GM are expected to return to work, like I said, as early as tomorrow, showing GM is wasting absolutely no time in recouping the lost production from the work stoppage, which started on September 16th. With this announcement, GM shares actually went up 1% after everything went through. Not that that's a huge deal, but it just kind of solidifies the fact that we are good to go. Now, the UAW has actually set its sights on Ford next, and then after that, they're going on Chrysler. So this is going to be a strike that's going to continue to impact the automotive industry, but GM is good to go, and they're going to start production on the C8 again, which is awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on one. So now I know they're being built again. So now it's just a matter of time before I finally get to sit in one. So anyway, guys, there you have it. The UAW and GM have finally agreed, so we are good to go. The strike is officially over. Everybody seems to have gotten what they wanted out of the arrangement, and that's awesome. I'm glad both parties could come to an agreement and move on. Like I said, I'm super pumped to finally get my hands on a C8 Corvette, so now this kind of solidifies it for me. I'm going to actually be able to get one sooner than later. All right, and moving on, guys, to the actual Motor Trend dyno results. I put out a video just a couple days ago about it, and shortly afterwards, there was a couple different people that came out and said that there was no way that Motor Trend was able to get that much power out of the actual Corvette. There was a couple different articles submitted stating why Motor Trend was wrong, but the most notable one came from Jason Camisa, who actually wrote the 2020 Corvette Stingray review for the Road and Track magazine. He actually came to the plate and utilized some of his own math and science to invalidate Motor Trend's dyno numbers. He calls the Motor Trend article a takedown article, and he says they consider it a takedown because Motor Trend should have known better. Jason believes that the dyno operator made a mistake, and then Motor Trend compounded that by publishing the results at face value. Jason says there are 2 reasons these dyno numbers were incorrect, as Motor Trend's own driving tests delivered the kind of performance numbers expected from a car with 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, and that it's impossible for the 6.2-liter naturally aspirated engine to deliver 650 horsepower and 600 plus pound-feet of torque. Utilizing Motor Trend's own 0 to 150 mile per hour tests with the 2020 Stingray, Jason shows the same data from the Road and Track tests as well as a simulator model based on a number of data points from the C7's LT1. Jason explained in the article why he used the LT1 in his simulation, but the point is all 3 generate similar performance from 0 to 150 miles per hour, and the quarter mile times are pretty nearly equal, with the times being 11.1 at 123 miles per hour from Motor Trend versus 11.2 at 122 miles per hour for the Road and Track test and Jason's simulator. Why we keep talking about a simulator is he's actually going to put some numbers into this simulator and get a result at the end of the day that puts the horsepower number right around what we would expect out of the C8 Corvette. Jason goes on to say that changing his data in the simulator to match that of Motor Trend's dyno numbers, the 558 horsepower and 515 pound-feet of torque, makes the real-world quarter-mile results 10.3 seconds at 134 miles per hour. So as you can see, Jason came up with a simulator that would allow him to put in different information from different cars with similar performance, and that would basically tell him that those horsepower numbers would get this car moving at a much faster rate than what either one of the 2 magazines were able to actually pull out of the car. So that by itself basically invalidates Motor Trend's dyno test. The car is still definitely producing around the 495 horsepower. It may have a couple more horsepower. It may be slightly underrated. But as I said, to underrate a car by over 140 horsepower is a little extreme. Now, if the car comes out and dyno's even 480 or 490 at the actual wheels, sure, that's an underrated engine, and those are numbers I can still respect while not being skeptical of. I'm going to actually link the article from Jason down below in the description. It's from motor1.com, and he's actually the one that wrote the article stating why the horsepower was so incorrect. His article actually starts out with, quote, "Everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes multiple people make mistakes, and that seems to be the case with a recent article by Motor Trend, claiming that the pre-production 2020 Chevrolet Corvette Z51 dynoed put 558 horsepower and 515 pound-feet of torque to the wheels. This, the magazine estimated, translates into a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 making 656 horsepower and 606 pound-feet of torque at the crankshaft. Eyebrows have been raised, considering how much higher those power numbers are than Chevy's own SAE certified numbers of 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. My best guess is that the dyno operator made a mistake, and then Motor Trend made another by taking the numbers at face value. Like I said, guys, I'll put that article in the description down below. If you want to read it in more detail, by all means, head over there and check it out. There are a lot of articles like this out there, though, stating that Motor Trend definitely made a mistake somewhere along the lines, because basically it is close to impossible to make that amount of horsepower from a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8. Now, I say next to impossible because it's not necessarily impossible, but it's unlikely GM would push the limits of an engine that hard to get that amount of horsepower and then purposely underrate it by that much. Now, lastly, guys, we're going to talk about the C8 Corvette that's been caught running around with the high wing spoiler on the back. This has been photographed a couple times now, and while it's pretty interesting to finally see this in the flesh, so to speak, it definitely leaves me wondering whether or not I like the option. Originally, when I first ordered the car, I went in there with full intentions. I wanted that high wing. And as soon as I sat down in the seat, I started ordering it. And I thought to myself, no, I better not, because I haven't actually seen it on the car yet. Well, finally, some of these pictures came out, and it does look interesting. I'll say that much, but I'm not a huge fan. And that's surprising because I have my C7 ZR1 with the high wing, and I freaking love it. But this one, I'm not 100% sold on the design of it. It's definitely an interesting look, and based on some of the information that GM gives us about it, it's definitely cool. If you guys haven't caught the upload I did a while ago talking about the high wing spoiler, I'll basically sum it up here for you real quick, but what it comes down to is that spoiler actually creates more downforce while creating less drag than the Z51 spoiler does. So as far as being functional, it's definitely right up there at the top, but I don't really love the look. Now, as you can see, there's 4 posts in the back, and that's how it mounts to the actual bumper. It doesn't mount to the trunk lid, it's on the actual bumper, and it's using the same mounting holes that the Z51 spoiler uses, which is a good thing, but at the same time, I think it looks odd. I think it would look way better if there was only 2 posts in the middle and the post at the end didn't exist. Of course, GM did it this way to make sure that an entire different rear bumper wouldn't have to be added with the high wing spoiler. Keeping the same mounting holes on the bumper across both spoiler options is definitely easier and cheaper for everybody involved. So that's definitely why GM did it. But like I said, I'm not 100% sold. Now, the next interesting thing about these pictures is we finally get to see the hash marks on the front fenders. We haven't seen any of these actually in person yet. Everything's been done on that visualizer online, but it's pretty cool. Typically, these are reserved for the Grand Sport model, but as you guys know, there's a lot of rumors being kicked around out there that we may not even get a Grand Sport model for the C8 generation. So basically, these are available for any of the base models. And if by some chance we do end up getting a Grand Sport in the future, I'm sure we'll get something very similar with that car as well. But it's definitely interesting to finally see this stuff in person outside of the visualizer online. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know down below what you guys think of the strike finally being over. Are you excited to finally get yourself into one of these C8 Corvettes? Also, let me know what you think of that high-rise spoiler. I definitely see why people would like it, but at the same time, I really wish the mounting points were a little bit different. Let me know what you think down below. Go ahead and give me a big thumbs up, guys, if you like this video. And if you have any questions about anything we discussed here today, feel free to shoot them in the comments section down below or send me an email, horse.power.obsessed@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. If you guys have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do. I have loads of C7 and C8 content coming very soon, so you're definitely not going to want to miss it. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload.